I've been talking about a crypto downturn, that I don't think the second half of this year will be so friendly to crypto asset prices and a lot of things just generally. Someone said, hey, it's not good enough just to state that. Tell us why. I think that's a fair request. So we'll go through some of my reasoning. Now, I'm not going to draw squiggly lines all over the screen here, but I will give you my general outlook and why I feel like that. We have a great article from The Hill talking about the implications of the Ripple court case, the massive defeat by the SEC, and what it may mean for the overall crypto industry. We're seeing a lot of action now picking up around crypto regulations. We'll discuss that. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about Elon Musk's transition to X app from Twitter, what that might look like, and also what it means for cryptocurrencies, because it could definitely have a big effect there. All right, let's get into it. So before I tell you why I think asset prices within crypto won't really be great to close out this year, I want to tell you why I could be wrong, very likely could be wrong. Number one, we could see a Bitcoin ETF at any moment. No doubt will cause prices to start going up in a bullish fashion. I don't know even that on its own would be enough. Could happen. Fed pivot. You start seeing not only a pause in increasing interest rates, but they start bringing it back down. Now, to see them take that action in an aggressive manner, I think we would need to have a coupled catastrophe of some sort, but you just don't know. So that could happen. Stock market and tech specifically just keep ripping up. I don't think that's going to happen. That's part of my thesis on why, the second half of the year will not be as great, but it could happen. And if that does, well, digital asset prices will probably also follow that trend. And lastly, crypto regulations. We're going to go over that a little bit in some of these stories, but if I get surprised here and before the end of this year we get some crypto regs that are passed, that would be terribly bullish for this space. Even though, Ripple vanquished the SEC in court, there's still a lot of uncertainty out there. We really need clear regulations. I think we're going to get them, just not before the end of this year. I could be wrong. So any of these things could happen, or a combination of these items that really send asset prices higher than I'm expecting. So again, that's why I may be wrong. Let's go over why, I feel that the second half of the year is not going to be great for crypto prices. Number one, we are quite a ways away from the Bitcoin halving, which will happen somewhere around April of 2024. Now, this isn't just some gibberish, golden cross nonsense. It's simple supply and demand. The number one crypto asset in the world will get a supply shock. In cryptocurrencies, we're always having, more adoption, more demand. So you have less supply, more demand. It's kind of common sense. The prices will go up. There's also market components that stop people from front running that too much. Again, as prices of Bitcoin start to rise, miners are incentivized to sell more on the market. It's tough to get over that hurdle before the halving. In the past, we've seen usually a crypto bull run start to form about 1 to 6 months post-halving. This year, could it be different? Of course. This time around, it could be massively different. Maybe we start to run 2 months before the halving or a year after. This isn't like magical stuff here. But in my opinion, as I kind of feel this out, I think we're just a little too far off. And we're always going to return to the state of the market, and I generally feel that still is a bearish time, even though we are darn close to flipping that switch and going into a new growth phase. When I look at the stock market right now, S&P up on the year about 19.5%. The Nasdaq's up about 36%. And we have to ask ourselves, for the rest of this year, do we think that's going to continue? Is that sensible? Is that logical? And life isn't always logical and sensible. I admit it may continue. I just don't expect that. I think in general, asset values are creeping back up into the silly zone a little bit. We'll see a sell-off. Only time will tell. Again, I don't trade out of my long-term investments, but doesn't mean I'm trying to pump a bunch of money into $3 trillion Apple or even $30,000 Bitcoin. I think most of the things, the drivers of value that people are really excited about are coming. They're on the short horizon, but not this year. I think we're really set up for 2024, 2025. Things like a Bitcoin ETF. I think for sure we're going to get it. I just don't know about now. Of course, a Fed pivot bringing those interest rates back down. It's happening, but I don't expect that to happen imminently. Eventually, they'll pause, maybe one more raise, whatever it might be. but they're going to try to keep this up as long as they can. That's a hostile environment, as they keep interest rates, which might be historically still reasonable. With this amount of debt, it's very unreasonable. It's a hostile environment. It's not good. If they keep it up there, it's going to be a drain on everything. Crypto regs, absolutely massive. We need stuff for stable coins and for, clarifying what's a security and a commodity and who has jurisdiction over these things. Again, I think it's absolutely happening, especially after the SEC got dominated in court. But, we don't even have a tax plan yet under this administration. Are they going to roll out crypto regulations? I would guess not, at least within the next 6 months. So I guess what I'm saying is, with assets kind of high values, we're due for a sell-off, my opinion. We have most of the things that are real drivers within crypto pushed off to 2024, 2025. That is probably where we're going to see a lot of growth. And if the prices don't continue to go up, you know how this game works. Eventually, they're going to go down. Only time will tell. That's just what I'm seeing. Now, the first article is from The Hill, and it's titled, "The Ripple Effect, a New Wave in Digital Asset Regulation." So you're noticing a lot of increased chatter out there that we need new regulations. We need clear guidelines. We've been yelling that forever. Now everyone else is starting to notice the trend here. Anyone who would listen that the SEC has crypto covered. He consistently opined that almost all digital assets, barring Bitcoin, are securities. Consequently, the SEC perceived no need for new legislation and believed market participants just needed to comply. Now, that's not entirely accurate. If you remember, when he first took his position as chairman of the SEC, he said, well, we need to be granted new authorities to properly regulate. He quickly changed his tune when no new authorities came. He tried to cowboy his way into having authority over crypto. Continuing with the article, his legal theories were put to the test in the U.S. District Court of New York and came up short, potentially creating a ripple effect across the crypto industry. The courts held that the XRP token itself was not a security. Conversely, sales of XRP through anonymous listings on digital asset exchanges and distributions to employees and third parties for no consideration were not deemed security offering. Massive failure. These holdings directly counter Gary Gensler's position. So, not what anyone's looking for. And even though it's not a great environment to get legislation passed, I think it's pretty easy to get bipartisan support that, we want some regulations over crypto assets. Something needs to get done. Maybe we see it get pushed through here. Again, I don't think it's happening this year. Probably gets pushed off to 2024. Even then, it's shaky, but, there might be enough support from both sides to say, look, we can't have a wild, wild west where anyone can make a coin, sell it on the secondary market. No one has any authority over that. That's not a great environment. It's really an environment that Gary Gensler has cultivated and made a mess of, but they need to clean this up. Maybe it gets done. Speaking of that, I have this article from Cointelegraph. U.S. crypto future could fall on these 4 digital asset bills. Again, we've seen renewed interest here because we need sensible regulations, what we've been saying. 2 of them are what I care most about, which is how do you define something, commodity versus security? Who has authority over it? Remember, even if we say it's a commodity, generally the CFTC, they only really regulate derivatives of commodities. So that's not great either. It essentially tells us we have this gray area of the law that no one gets to oversee. And I think it's not about the Ripples and the Ethereums and the Cardanos, but if someone's coming out with something, how do we verify their information beyond the trust me bro stuff? I truly believe the future will have registration and light reporting. And then the question is, who's going to oversee that? CFTC, SEC, I don't know. That's up to them now to figure out. We've seen some of these monster bills that try to address everything. That ain't going to happen. They're going to have to break it up into parts and pieces. Of course, stable coins really need some attention here, some oversight. Are they holding the reserves they're claiming, things of that nature? This is the one area of crypto that incorporates a whole lot of trust here. It's kind of a weird, kind of mixture of traditional finance and blockchain technology. And when it comes to money, you can't trust people. We need someone ensuring those reserves are there. Beyond that, of course, they're going to look at DeFi and, various ancillary issues of blockchain and digital assets. They'll break it up. They'll roll it out over the coming years. I hope they really go over the classification of cryptos first and who has regulatory authority over them. and we'll see things start falling into place. It's in our DNA as crypto enthusiasts to think the government needs to stay totally out of crypto, that we should be free to do whatever we want. I understand that, but from an investment perspective, if you're looking at this as an investment vehicle, we got to move beyond the trust me bro reporting and have some oversight here. For every Vitalik Buterin or Charles Hoskinson, you're going to have 10, Alex Mashinsky's and Do Kwon's, and that's just not acceptable. I don't think we need to dig into the specifics because all of these bills are proposed and they'll change 1,000 times before anything is passed. So just know crypto regs are coming. They're going to break it down in parts and pieces. Hopefully they start with the important issues first and then work on to some of the ancillary, areas of crypto and blockchain. Lastly, we have Elon Musk's X app. The title of this article, Elon Musk's Twitter overhaul could be huge for Doge and crypto generally. Elon Musk's decision to rename Twitter as X and make it an everything app has a shot at broadening the use of crypto. It would be an absolute game changer to incorporate cryptocurrency payments as part of their ecosystem. Musk has long talked about creating the so-called everything app that incorporates not only social media and messaging, but also the ability to buy things and send money. Crypto could easily factor into that. Now, this is the deal. Number one, I wish he would just kind of fix the things he's got on his plate now. Twitter is a mess. There's more. When I post on Twitter, if you follow me, there are so many bots. It's just overrun. Fix the core use of that app first, is my opinion. Further, I respect Musk a lot. I'm a huge fan. But I worry that this is just going to be a bad imitation of Cash App. We don't need something else just to, a poor brokerage to trade crypto and stocks. You got to really be innovative and, make some big strides. If anyone could do it, it's him. But I would caution you, this could be a disaster also in the making. I have high hopes for Twitter or X app, whatever. I want to see what Musk can do, but it's far from a shoo-in. Just because you've succeeded in electric cars and rockets and everything else, social media is a whole different ball game here. See what he can do. It could be a game changer for crypto, finance, messaging. But again, we got to see it happen. And I hope he picks his game up on some of the core functionality because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm sure he's got a plan. I'll let him execute it. But until then, I'm a little skeptical here. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.